Welcome to the studio. It's Royal here. Yippee! Today is Sunday and we are in the studio. Dissolving pages of National Geographic with citrasolve can be incredibly exciting and rewarding when it works. The pages are amazing. The colors are so diverse in what happens when you use the citrasolve. But the thing is, sometimes they don't go exactly how you want. Sometimes they're too dark or they could be just uninteresting. And then what do? Besides having a tantrum, there's quite a few things you can do with your Nat Geo pages if they haven't gone exactly how you want. So today I'm going to experiment with some different ideas to see what we can make with the pages that we're just not happy with. Now, the last time I was playing with some Nat Geo pages, I felt that the temperature was a little too cold. The pages didn't dry as well as they should, and they were a bit dark. So I did play with a stencil straight on the papers when the citrasolve was still wet, and it removed these shapes, which I think looks really cool. Also, I think it was the bottom of my bottle, so it might have been a bit old. So there are a few things that you need to think about in relation to why your papers are not working. Is it the temperature? Is it too cold? Is your citrasolve too old? That's what I found last time when I was playing with some of these papers. But this stencil worked out really cool, and I'm going to play with that a little bit more, and then we're going to try some other ideas. Why does it not work sometimes? Well, it's a bit like life. Sometimes that's just how it goes. You might be doing everything perfectly. You might have followed my instructions clearly on the first video I did, and it still didn't work. Well, what can I tell you? Sometimes art making is a bit like that. But we are going to come up with some brilliant ideas of what to do with your papers when you're not happy with them if the citrasolve hasn't done what you wanted it to do. Now, I can tell by the feel of this paper that it didn't dry properly. It could have been the cold, or it could have been my citrasolve was very old. It was the bottom of a bottle. Whatever reason, it didn't do what I want. I did this stencil print straight away while it was still wet. I used this stencil and I was really happy with the fabulous circle marks on these pages. But I'm looking at them going, yeah, they're a little boring, so we need to add something else. So I pulled out some of this iZink 3D texture paste in mango. I mean, hello, even the sound of it is amazing. Look at the color. Look at that. That is just beautiful. It's got a little bit of warm tone left in there. So I'm thinking, what about if I put the same stencil on it with some of this fabulous texture paste? Now, this texture paste is beautiful and creamy, and it's pretty much like Stencil Butter. It goes on pretty easy. It's just fabulous. You pull it out of the tub and you're ready to go. I do like instant. I'm a bit like that. So I was thinking of just putting some of the beautiful mango color in some of these areas. Now, if you're really particular, you could tape off some of the areas of your stencil where you want the color to be. If you don't want to be, doing a random approach like I am, you could always put some masking tape over some areas if you want to be more precise. But, we're experimenting here. I'm not too stressed out about how it is. Do I want to do that one? Oh, maybe I do. Okay. It's such a beautiful color. So I just used the same stencil that I had used as the first time when I pulled the citrasolve off with the baby wipe. Ta-da! That looks rather beautiful. That is a fabulous color. So you can add more stencils to your pages to add more colors, especially if it's a little dark or uninteresting. I really like that color on there. That looks pretty nice. And I like that it's the same stencil that I used before, so I might do that again. I'm using the same circle stencil, although this time I am using Stencil Butter in a turquoise. Oh, look at that color. Look at that. Just amazing. I think what I like about these pastes is that you just open the lid. You don't have to mix paints or add anything. And you know, I don't know. Yes, I can be a little lazy like that sometimes. But the turquoise, I'm thinking, because this is quite a dark background, this will look really cool. Now, I took some of that citrasolve off with the stencil and the baby wipe while it was still wet, and that just creates another shape. So creating different layers on your papers looks absolutely fabulous. Don't get too discouraged if at first the citrasolve didn't work exactly how you wanted and your papers aren't fabulous, because you can add to them and fix them by creating different layers of textures and colors, and you might create something absolutely amazing that you wouldn't have thought of if you didn't have to experiment. So don't give up. That's all I'm saying. Don't give up. Look at that. That is just fun. I absolutely love it. It's got the second layer of the turquoise on top of that dark background, and already it had the circle stencil shape from where I wiped it off when it was wet. Yay! So that makes the paper far more interesting. Now, what's a really good idea is to spray your papers first with like a matte varnish. You just give it a spray on the paper. I didn't want to do it because it'll stink out my space. I did some outside. Do it outside. So what that will do is it'll just seal the ink on the paper more likely. Probably not absolutely, but when you're using it for collage or you're putting paint on, or you're now doing different layers on the paper, it can shift the citrasolve and the dissolved ink. So if you give it a spray with some matte varnish, that will help to keep everything in place so it doesn't become a big muddy mess. So that should really help. But like I said, do it outside, it smells. Anyway, this paper is really dark, not happy with it, it's boring. So how about some interference paint, interference violet? You just want to pull out what you've got in your drawers, and if you don't have any of these things, don't rush out and buy it. I'm just going to give you a whole heap of different ideas of things to do. So this paper's boring and dark and uninteresting. I have another stencil, but this time I'm just going to dab politely. I personally love using the palette knife with my stencils because I like fat art. I like it nice and chunky, but you know, look at me being all delicate here and dabbing politely with a sponge. I can do that too, not as much fun, but you know. The interference paint looks absolutely amazing over dark backgrounds. So if you've got some of your pages that didn't work well with the citrasolve and they're kind of dark and gloomy, try adding some interference paint. You can get it in blue and green and gold. This is violet. Oh, it's just amazing. And it absolutely comes alive on top of dark backgrounds. It looks garbage over white backgrounds, but over dark backgrounds, it is just amazing. If you want more instruction on interference paints, I do have a video for you to watch. Yay! Look at that. You see, absolutely fabulous over dark backgrounds. And you can dab very politely with a sponge. Now, I love that. I would use that in a collage, but how that paper was before, I would have almost thrown it away. No, I wouldn't have thrown it away, but I wouldn't have used it. So very simple. Interference paints are amazing. They look incredible under dark backgrounds. Shall I show you another one? Okay, all right, if you insist. We'll just do one more. So here is interference green and here's interference blue. And you can barely see them when they're on white, but when you put them on a dark background, they look amazing, because I'm going to show you how amazing they look. The interference green is absolutely beautiful, metallic-y green, and the interference blue is an incredible opal kind of color, like you would see in opals, and they're stunning. I love interference colors, and because I have an abundance of backgrounds that are way too dark, there's plenty to use, right? Fabulous. Dab it on with a sponge. And yippee, away we go. Look how stunning that looks. So this side here is the interference green, and that one is the interference blue fine. These are a golden paint, but you can get interference colors in all different brands as well. It doesn't have to be golden, but they are rather beautiful. Just saying. That is absolutely glorious. They come alive on dark backgrounds. So don't be despairing if your pages didn't work the way you want. There's so many ways that we can enhance them, make them better, add another layer. And interference paints is absolutely fabulous way of really adding something else to your dark printed backgrounds that didn't work out the way you wanted. Yay, that is glorious. So the citrasolve is a degreaser, which should be oil-based. So what about we play with some alcohol inks, right? I think it's a great idea. I've got a brass. In this little spray bottle, I just have some isopropyl alcohol, which is like rubbing alcohol. I got it from the chemist. You can't actually drink this stuff. But we can play with it on the fabulous paper. So I'm just spraying it on there. You know, I don't know what it's going to do. I'm just experimenting with some ideas. Let's throw some fabulous brass colored alcohol ink on there and see what it does, right? Because you don't know until you start playing with some ideas. Let's give it a little bit of movement. What's it going to do? Do we need a brush? Maybe we do. Maybe we want to give it a little push around. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of going all really cool. And just have a little play and see what the alcohol inks do on the citrasolve paper, because you've got nothing to lose, right? You don't like it. I don't like it. And it didn't go the way I wanted, so I may as well have an experiment and see if there's something else I can do with it so that I would want to use it in my collage. This is really fun, actually. I'm liking the way this looks. So I'm going to leave this piece, and then I'm going to come back to it and probably put a stencil on it because it looks really cool like that. Righto, so I'm just going to put that to the side and pick up another one to play with. Now this paper's okay, it's not too dark, but it's a little boring, don't you think? Let's splash some more of this alcohol ink idea on it. I just added some of the alcohol on the page. Ooh, throw a bit of that on, see what it does. Do we want to move it around? Oh yes. So it's going to stain the page very nicely. So if you want to change the color of your page, if you don't like the color of it and you want it to be something else, then the alcohol inks will go very nicely over the top. The water-based acrylic inks probably wouldn't, because the citrasolve is oil-based. So, you know, oil and water doesn't really mix. But these alcohol inks, they're going to work. That's kind of cool. Then when you spray it with the alcohol, it kind of all beads up. That's fun. Let's put some brass on there. Oh man, now we're cooking with gas. That's really fun doing that. So you just got to have a little play, be adventurous. You got nothing to lose. You might find that you create something amazing And did I mention it's fun? Look how cool that is. That's going into some crazy patterns. Now I'm loving it. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to plaster everything with alcohol inks. I'm just loving that. I think it's really cool having the spray and spraying the alcohol on, because that kind of makes that organic pattern. All right, let's do that again. That's fun. And it just makes that paper that was, you know, on the boring side far more exciting. Can't wait to see how these dry. This page is okay, but it's fairly boring. A little bit of a spritz of some alcohol, and let's pull out the red. You knew it was going to happen. You just knew it was coming. A little bit of red. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at that colour. That's amazing. And some brass. Yes, got to have me the bling. Loving the bling. Let's add a bit of that. Another bit of a spray, the alcohol. And let's get some movement happening. It's the metallic in that brass that I'm loving. It kind of separates. The pigments all separate. And they create that incredible organic flow. Loving that. Oh, so excited to see how it looks when it dries. Because things change as they dry. I really hope it looks as cool as it does now. But we won't know until it dries. But that is really fun. Look how much it changes when I spray it with the alcohol. Oh, man. I've left some of that original paper at the top there, and that looks really cool. It's a nice purple colour. We like purple. And that's just fascinating. I can see some of the text underneath, and now it looks a really interesting piece of paper for a collage. I could add a stencil to it, or I could add some writing or some shapes or some marks. And now it just is further on down the track than it was before when it was looking boring. Yay! This one's not a bad colour, it's just a bit boring. So what about if I put some white alcohol ink on it? Oh man, that's so much more exciting. Give that a spray. What will that do? And that's what you have to ask yourself. What will it do? Will it do anything? Maybe it'll do nothing. I don't know. Should we push it around? Oh man. I've got paint still in my brush. I'm liking it like that, actually. I think I'll just leave those shapes as they are. Ooh, that's a bit much. What happens if we just leave it? Just spray it? What about if we go with some copper? Ooh, that could be fun. What will that do? I don't know. Oh, the copper looks really nice on the green. Yes. That looks really cool. So if we spray that, what does that do? Kind of goes a little crazy. Oh, I'm liking it. Maybe push it around with my finger. The green underneath is pretty nice. The copper looks amazing on it. And that is just fun. Righto, I'll show you these when they dry, and we'll see how good they look or how bad they look. It'll only be either way. If they don't look any good when they dry, we can just add another layer. We can add some more colours. We can add some stencils. Oh, there's so much we could do. Possibilities are endless. Just don't give up too quick. You've got to try different ideas. And something will stick. If you throw enough stuff at it, something's going to work. What about some powdered pigment? That'll look pretty cool with the copper and the white. Got a bit of gold. Now, the thing with powdered pigment is you don't want to sneeze and you don't want to breathe in because it's very fine. And you probably should be wearing a mask. Just saying. Oh, love using powdered pigment. It's just like fairy dust. So I'm just going to drop a little bit on there, and then I'm going to allow it to do its thing and to go in the places where it wants to flow. And we'll see how that looks when it dries. Yay! That is just fun. Now, don't you think that's looking so much better? Yes. You could just paint on a colour of these alcohol inks if you weren't happy with the way the tone of the page is, but you were okay with the texture. You could just paint it with some alcohol inks, which is pretty cool. See how easy that is to change the whole colour of the page, especially if it's not too crazy dark. That paints on really easy on top of the page, even though it's been saturated with citrasolve because it's the alcohol inks. Look at that. That's just awesome. Because then if you wanted to have papers a particular colour or a shade, then you can do this with them. That is pretty easy peasy. But, you know, where's the bling, I say? Where's the bling? Where's the bling? Where's the drama? So you can just paint the pages, even with these alcohol inks, and just create a different colour, different tone, and you can still see the texture coming through. All is not lost. But, you know, this is me we're talking about. We need the bling. Ooh, about some chili pepper. Okay, let's have a little chili pepper as well as some bling. Oh, man, I'm just loving this. This is so much fun. I love this kind of abstract expressionist approach where you're just experimenting and playing and see how it comes out. Personally, I'm in absolute heaven when I get to do this. This is just so much fun. So that underneath layer, because the alcohol inks dry so fast, it gave it a really nice base tone. And now the red hot chili peppers and the brass on top of it looks amazing. And hello, that piece of paper, how it was pretty boring. Now it's just beautiful. Look at that. Loving it. And the texture is still coming through from the original paper. So, you know, we're winning. I'm just leaving that. That's just glorious. Right, so these papers with the alcohol inks have dried up absolutely fabulous. Look at the glorious layers of colours. The metallic brass is a really nice ink. It creates this incredible pattern of the beautiful, it looks gold, but it's called brass. I think I like the brass better than the gold because the gold's a bit yellowy and the brass is more bronzy. Loving this, loving it so much. You can still see the original background texture of the dissolved National Geographic page, and it just adds this incredible element and layer on top of it. The color down here is transparent and you can see the text coming through. This is a really successful page. So this has gone from bad or sad to fun and fabulous. Now, that's really funny. I love it. So I'm really happy with these experiments. They've worked out really well. Look how dramatic this one is. Okay, I know it's dramatic. I put a little black of the alcohol ink underneath and then I put the brass on top. But the shape and the texture and the organic mark is fabulous. You can still see the underneath patterning coming through. I don't think I want to wreck these anymore by doing anything else. This one's really beautiful. It's got the white, the copper, and I dropped in the powdered pigment on this one. Can you see that? That's really fun. A little bit more texture. I love it. It's awesome. The green of the original page is coming through and it's just beautiful. Look at the blue one. So that was the alcohol ink with the blue. Drop the brass in and you can just see all the background texture on that. That is stunning. I could also, if I wanted to, add some more stenciling on top of it. I mean, possibilities are endless. Seriously, if you've got sad or bad pages from your Nat Geos that didn't dissolve properly, have a little play with them because there's so much more you can do. You don't have to be satisfied with what you get. You can make something else. This one is gorgeous, but we could put a stencil on that. I mean, it's just so easy to keep adding layers to these pages. Look at this, beautiful, the copper and the brass. I love that you can still see the background texture of the original Nat Geo pages, and they're just gorgeous. I'm just going to add another layer of stencil on this because we can, right? So I pulled out my favorite numbers stencil, which I'm going to put right here and just put some of these numbers on because I think it'd look really cool and I would totally use this in a collage. And then my piece of paper's gone from something I would definitely not use to something I cannot wait to use in my next collage because it's so beautiful. Ta-da! Ta-da! Look at that. That is just glorious. It just adds another element to the fabulous paper. I could do it in black or white or red or gold. This color is an unbleached titanium because I wanted it to blend in because I'm going to use this definitely for something. I'm really happy with how that's come out and the paper is just beautiful. So 3 great techniques to fix pages that didn't dissolve well with your National Geographic. You can use stencils straight away on them and remove the citrasolve. You can put another layer of stencils on them when the pages are dried. You can use the interference paints. They look absolutely beautiful. See how they've come up nice and dried now. The colors are stunning. Remember, interference paints has to be on a dark background. And when you've got plenty of them, right? With prints that didn't work, you can use them and they look absolutely fabulous. The colors are just stunning with the interference paints and there's so much to explore with the different ones. So have a little play with those, and also the alcohol inks. I absolutely love them. They turned my boring and drab dark and undissolved National Geographic pages into something beautiful that I can't wait to use in my collages because the pages are now totally stunning, absolutely fabulous, and I could add another layer of stencils or something else on top if I want to add some elements or some images or some writing or some text or some numbers or some pictures or some shapes. I'm telling you, the possibilities are endless. Thanks for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. So come back again next week, and if you want to find out more information, the links are in the description under the video.